Hello, welcome to today's video. This is part 5 of Unit 9. We are going to be working on page 106, and we're going to be working on hopefully to the rest of this unit. So we now have a new chord to learn about. The new chord, as you can see in your book here on page 106, has E in the left hand, which is 2 ledger lines above bass clef, and that E is right there. Now, when you find E, notice that it has a strange notation. It has ledger lines above bass clef, but it's the same as the first line in treble clef. So get to know that, become comfortable and familiar with it, because that's where E will be located for bass clef in the bass clef perspective, because the stem will be going down. Now, when you play the new chord, let's start off by playing G major first. So we have G, B, D. We know that's G major, G, B, D, 5, 3, 1. And then when you play the next chord, change your fingering to 5 on, so 5 stays on G, 2 now comes down on C, and then 1 will come down on E, the new E we just learned about. So if we have G, C, and E together, this is called C major. Now, for those of you who already know, this is C major second inversion, or C6/4. Okay, so let's go ahead now and take a look at the new, not C6/4, it's just C/E is the chord symbol. And let's go ahead and take a look at the individuals from the G major. And then C, G. All you have to do is bring 2 over and then, or 2 down on C and then 1 over to E. When we look at them from blocked perspective, we have G major, 2 is right there, so all you have to do is bring that down and bring 1 over. C major, C major, G major. Look at them, see what they look like. On page number 107, we're practicing sight reading these chords. As you read them, make sure that you not only look at the spelling of the notes as they are stacked, but also the chord symbols, okay? So G, C, D7, back to G, B, reading the rhythms. And then D. So these, on page 107, I will not give any instruction because this is supposed to be sight reading for you, practicing all the steps together of clapping and counting the rhythm, clapping, saying the note names if you need to, playing, saying the note names. You may want to practice hands separately first because of the mixed articulations. And when you put them together, make sure that the melody sounds louder than the harmony. Here's a demonstration of number 2 for 107. 1, 2, 3. Moving on down to 108, that's a written assignment. Not only is it a written assignment, it's a practice assignment. After writing out the chord symbols above, practice playing the chords, whether as blocks or broken. Now here, notice that it's showing you not just the chords themselves, and you will be writing the chord symbols there for 4 and 5, but you're also going to play a new rhythm. It's not just rock, it's called broken. So when you play broken chords, you play the notes individually like this, also known as an arpeggio. Here at the bottom system, we have a new type of rhythm where we break the chord kind of in half, not necessarily in half, but we play the first note or the root of the chord, and then we play the top 2 notes together or harmonically as a third or a second. It's like a chuck, 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 bass, and then together. Same thing happens there. This is a technique practice for this kind of rhythm, accompaniment rhythm. Start with G major block and then bass, third, block, bass, third, block, bass, second, bass, third, and then the root by itself, which is G. Let's go now to page 109, Beautiful Brown Eyes. This is some music here. Let's go ahead and listen to a demonstration which features the technique that was learned on page 108. So it starts off with the blocked first, and then it goes to the bass, third, or bass, second. All right, so here we go. Not only should you be looking at the individual notes, by the way, but the chord symbol above will give you an idea of where to place your hands or your fingers. So if you see G major as the chord symbol above, both hands should be in G position as though you're ready to be playing that chord. If the chord symbol above is C, put both of your hands in that position as though you're ready to play C chord. Or if it's D7, put both hands in that position as though you're ready to play the D chord. Okay? All right, here we go. Ready? Let's listen to this. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's try that again. Now you may have noticed that I only moved my left hand to that chord position, and you're right. It was not really necessary for my right hand to move to the chord position because I wasn't exactly playing all of the notes that belong to that chord. Therefore, it's essential that we only maintain a G position for the right hand. It's perfectly fine to keep it in G position because we can play every single one of the notes in the melody just fine. But it's mostly the left hand that needs to move to that position. So let's go over these notes. Notice also that we have pedals for the last 2 measures of each system. Okay, so once again, making sure that the notes are all correct according to the hand position. It's only the left hand that moves occasionally to shape the chord according to the chord symbol above. Now let's go ahead and read. The right hand is legato for 4 measures in each system. Make sure that you are paying attention to the repeated legatos and that the right hand sounds louder because it is the melody. Here we go. Let's read. 1, 2, 3. All legato here. Now before you get to this section, you may want to prepare by moving like that, but make sure that there is a lift in the left hand before you start playing that left hand part there with the new hand position. So if we go to start on measure number 2, lift, and I move my hand over to C chord position. And right now I'm not playing with pedal so that you can listen to the notes a little bit clearer. As you first start practicing, I would encourage you to play without the pedal and make sure that even though you will be using pedal eventually, the left hand still plays non-legato. So you can hear there's a clear space of silence in between the notes there for the left hand. And then you'll lift. It's a repetition of the first 2 measures. Legato here. Your left hand moves it to D7 position while you're ready to legato to D. Legato. Okay. Back to repetition again. Lift, getting ready for legato to C. Repeated legato, and the tie. Still non-legato there. Lift both hands, and then we place to D7 here. Tie, still legato, lift, well, legato to G. Tie for the right. Now when we do all that again, it is going to sound a little blurry because of the pedal for 2 measures. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Excuse me, once again. Now you may have noticed something, as I mentioned before in previous videos, and you saw in the pedal video. When you pedal down on beat number 1 of measure number 3, play that beat first, then bring the pedal down kind of like a 16th note right after you bring them down. And I like to do that to make it a more clean pedal effect. Because if you were to bring them down together, you may miss it or it may not sound exactly perfect. So I like to bring it down just a little tiny second or a fraction of a second afterwards. Make sure you're capturing it before. Lift. Lift. Down. Good. Lift together. Lift. Lift together. Lift. Maintaining the non-legato for the left hand. Very good. All right, let's go ahead now for the right hand. The E5 right there is being introduced on the staff. This is still in the staff for treble clef. And when we play this C chord here, which is going to be with fingers 1, 3, and 5, notice that the fingering is the same. It's not 2 and 5 because this doesn't exactly feel comfortable. So that's why we're still using 1, 3, and 5. We come from G major, move your 3 and 5 over to C and E respectively. Getting to know the blocks. A little bit of a stretch there between 1 and 3. Get to know the difference also with the chord symbols. Let's go ahead and do a demonstration of page 111. 1A. Always reading both the chords spelled out on the staff and then the chord symbols as well. B. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a different type of advice when it comes to B. Now, I was actually tempted to use a different fingering. We know that the fingering usually is 1, 2, 1, 4, and 5 for D7. But when you're coming from C major, which is in second inversion like this, notice that we have 2 fingerings that are already touching 2 of the notes in the next chord, and those are 3 and 4. So those are already touching, and 5 is way up here, and I would have to bring these 2 over. So that's a lot of work. An optional fingering, or an alternative to doing this, which is the regular fingering, is to do 1, 3, and 4. And then if you were to go from here to G major, since 5 is way over here, you can actually bring 1, 2, and 4 down to play G. Now, this is to simplify the fingering. Now, the reason why we simplify fingering is in case the tempo is fast and we want it to be more smooth and comfortable for our fingers. So if we were to do this again, that would be another type of fingering we could use, just as an idea, just so you know. Let's go to C now. And now number 2, demonstration. This one does use pedal. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. I apologize. Let's do those last 2 measures again. Okay. All right, very good. Let's go ahead now, turn the page. Alpine melody. And yes, we've made it. So Alpine melody, as you can see, right hand is just harmony. And the left hand is going to be the louder melody. Notice that they each even have their own dynamics. Left hand will be mezzo forte, looks like they're out. And the right hand is piano. There are some moments of pedals, so look forward to that. Let's go ahead and listen to this. Once again, because you have a lot of rests in the right hand, that gives you opportunity to move the hands whenever you need to their shape. Always read the chord symbol that starts on beat number 1 of each measure. It's not exactly going to be over the chord itself when it plays, but it's going to be over the first beat of each measure. Okay, so always be looking at that. Ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, so one thing to keep in mind is mostly when you start working on this one is to read the left hand alone, making sure that everything is legato. And it is supposed to be, notice that for the second system, there are actually 2 phrases there with the lift in between. Try not to let that pedal obscure the lift for those that system right there. And then for the last 2, it's once again 4 measures of slur. Okay, once you get that solidified, make sure that everything sounds nice and good mezzo forte. Try to practice just the right hand by itself. I would do it with counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or you can even say rest. Rest, G, rest, rest, G, rest, rest, E7, rest, rest. Like that, if you wanted to do it that way. One thing to keep in mind when you're playing the right hand harmonic or the chords is try not to play them too short. Usually when we have a non-dominant hand, when we have the dominant hand playing the harmony, which is the right hand, for those of you that are right-handed, you tend to sometimes play a little short. But we want to make sure that these chords are the full length of a non-legato. So we don't want to make it short, but nice and non-legato. Okay, just like that. Alrighty, so let's work on that one. If you want to play an octave higher, it does give you the option. And then the last page here of the Unit 9, 113 is written exercises away from the keyboard, writing out the note names, matching, and then writing out the note names here in the little boxes. And remember, when you're finished, send me a picture of the completed pages for Unit 9, written assignments. So please practice every day, and we will see you at next lesson. Bye.